Welcome to another amazing episode of You Were Designed for Greatness. This is Donna, your host and the founder and CEO of Vibrant Living International, whose purpose and mission is to bring accelerated transformation, helping people to live vibrantly all around the world. If you have been listening to this podcast for a while, I want to thank you for being here. If you have recently joined us, I also want to thank you for being here. But you've probably noticed that I am extremely inquisitive about people's stories of overcoming adversity, overcoming the pain and the disappointment that life can bring. And I have been really curious when let's take two people from really similar backgrounds, circumstances, everything's really, really close to being the same. Why does one person overcome and the other person struggle? Why do some people's lives seem to go well and others do not? This has been a quest of mine and as I have been in this quest of searching and discovering, I have uncovered some surprising results, and I want to share them with you. Would you like to know more? Of course, I am not the first person who's been on this quest, who's had this passion to discover and to help people to live vibrantly and abundantly. And there are a lot of books and podcasts and researches all on this subject. But stay tuned. I have some probably surprising information for you today. But seeing that I was not the first, back in the 1920s, there was a journalist named Napoleon Hill who decided to invest 20 years in researching the most highly successful people all around in different countries, all around the world. He wanted to find out what they knew. What allowed them to be so successful? What allowed them to accomplish what many thought were totally impossible? Henry Ford is one of them that he researched. I love the story when he went to develop the V8 engine. And he went to his engineers and said, "This is what I want." And they said, "That's not possible. The thing will explode. It's not possible for it to work." And he said, "I see it on the inside. I know it's possible, but I'm going ahead of time." But those are that's some of the people who we were told over and over again what they dreamed, what they wanted, what they desired, what their background and everything, that it was impossible. They needed to be realistic. But they weren't, and they succeeded anyway. When a lot of people have moderate success, he wanted to understand how these people thought. What did they think about? How did they make their choices? What did they do? What unlocked the power to get the kind of results that they got? He eventually published his findings in the 1930s and then again in 1937 in his groundbreaking book, Think and Grow Rich. The book itself went on to change millions and millions and millions and still changing people's lives today all around the world. But what he discovered is that most of us look at our circumstances and our conditions to dictate what is or is not possible in our lives. And when I heard that the first time, I went, well, duh, I can't help how I grew up. I can't help where I lived and I can't help any of that. But I want you to hear it again. This was one of the keys. He discovered that we look at our circumstances and conditions to dictate what is or isn't possible. And these highly successful people didn't do that. They didn't allow circumstances or conditions or people's opinion or the world's economy to determine what was or wasn't possible. The highly successful people that he studied learned how to transform the impossible into probable. Impossible. Is that something that's true, or is it just my beliefs? And so one of the things I've discovered in overcoming in successful people is that they really learn how to shape their reality. They change their world. But how, right? How did they think? What did they do? How did they harness this? Well, they did this by harnessing the power of 6, which I call mental faculties, capabilities, mental superpowers, mental gifts that we were all born with. Yes, you were born with it too. Every one of us have these 6 amazing gifts. And using these gifts unconsciously or in a manner that's not the way they were designed to use actually creates more struggle, more scarcity, worry, difficulties in our life. Yes, when we use them unconsciously and in a manner that they were not designed for, it increases the difficulties. Is that crazy? And it's so unnecessary, because if we could learn what they are and to use them with skill and intention, it creates possibilities that you probably maybe have never even dreamed of. Let me give you an example. We all know what a knife is, but if you had never used a knife before, you just became aware of a knife, and I ask you to cut an apple, and you turned it around the wrong way and tried to cut the apple, you would be struggling because it didn't work right. And in the struggle, it's very possible you could cut yourself. And so then we could say, well, I'm never using a knife again. They don't work. It's a piece of garbage, and I'm not using a knife anymore. But it wasn't the knife's fault. It was how we were using the knife that hurt us, not the knife itself. So learning how to use them with skill and intention creates possibilities that most of us have only dreamed about. These superpowers, these gifts could be described as sleeping giants within us. You have them. You can actually learn to awaken them and harness them intelligently, skillfully. And this capacity will really change the results you're having. Would you like to change some of the results while keep living the part of your life that you actually love? Once you learn what these 6 mental faculties or gifts are, superpowers, whatever you want to call them, and how to harness them as spiritual beings, having a human experience, working in cooperation with God, you have the power to change your environment, your life, and perhaps your world. You have the power to create extraordinary results in your life, but not the way you've been doing it. Not unconsciously using the knife the wrong way. The first step, I love steps. The first step to unlocking the power of these 6 extraordinary superpower gifts is to become aware. And now you know that they exist and that you have them. So you are aware. You've got number 1. Number 2 is to receive training on how to harness these gifts with skill, and in concert with what you would really love, so that you can infect your environment and change the results that you're having in your life. Anything is possible when you know how. Actually doing this easily and quickly is precisely what I have been teaching my private clients to do for a while. And the results are amazing. There's big results, like one of my clients who felt like she would never be loved and never find that special someone, found her special someone with utilizing these gifts in the right way. Another woman got a new car. Another woman who was a bit older, who thought that I'm too old. At least she was old in her mind. I'm too old to change careers. And she found the courage to change careers and the confidence. How do you describe confidence from worry and peace? How do you describe what that feels like to go from anxious, concerned about the future, waiting for the other shoe to drop, to confidence and peace, and wake up with expectation and know that it's going to be good? How do you describe what that feels like? I've had clients overcome abusive relationships. I've had clients improve their marriages, that there is more harmony and goals. I've had clients affect every area of their life, their relationship with their children, and then teaching this to their children. The results and the stories are astounding. And they're ordinary people, just like you and me, who begin to learn what these gifts are that God has placed in us to have an abundant, vibrant life. So I am making available a workshop for you to do step 2, to teach you all about these six amazing gifts. But I'm going to give you a sneak peek today of one of these superpower gifts. One of these powerful gifts that God has given us is our imagination. Yes, we've all heard of our imagination. When we were a child, the world, anything was possible. One minute we were an astronaut and a cowboy and an Indian and a scientist and I don't know, whatever we wanted to be, we could be, because we just dreamed it. But as we grew up, we had to be realistic. I'm really not a fan of that word, but that's a word that people use a lot. And we actually begin to use our imagination for the negative. It turns into worry. We imagine things going wrong, as if preparing for them and thinking about them is going to prevent them from happening. Is that working for you? It didn't work for me. And if you want an example, have you ever had a child that didn't come home on time? Did you ever have somebody that you were trying to reach and they didn't answer the phone and you imagined all kinds of horrible things happening? Did you imagine when you heard a whisper of layoffs that you were going to be the one? When you heard about other things, did you imagine the worst happening and worry and think about it over and over again? That's using the knife the wrong way. That's not the way imagination was designed. Imagination is creative, whether positive or negative. Imagination is creative. So what kind of world would you like to create? So in this workshop, I will be going deeper into all 6 of these amazing gifts that you possess. Would you like to know how to unwrap them? Would you like to know how to utilize them? In the show notes, there is a link that you can sign up with your name and your email address for instant access to this workshop as soon as it's available. Don't wait. This podcast will be released in July, and the workshop will also be available in July. So as soon as you hear this podcast, click on the link and sign up so that you can learn how to have the life you've always loved, how to live vibrantly, how to take back control, how to not feel powerless, how to have the life you would actually love. I believe in you. And as the name of this podcast, you were designed for greatness. We just need to learn the tools, the gifts that we possess and how to use them so that we can live vibrantly. Please like and share and give reviews on this podcast so that we can extend our reach. Thank you for listening today, and I just bless you and may you live vibrantly. Bye for now.